So let's go back to like the abuse, I guess. That's basically going to be the main topic for people to kind of understand what everybody goes through, what leads to their deaths, you know, things like that. I know it's going to be hard. But if you feel like you need to stop, just stop. That's fine. But kind of tell me a little bit more about the things that she endured.
He would, towards the end, the abuse got worse and worse. He got to the point where he did not care. The beatings got worse and worse and worse. At one point, she was afraid that her hand was broken. It turned out her hand wasn't broken, but he did knock out half of her front tooth and split her lip, and he broke her foot because he stomped on her foot. That was one of the beatings, and I urged her to go to the hospital. She did that. And then about a month later, I had gotten I guess it was a FaceTime call or a call on Facebook. I don't know how that worked. It wasn't a FaceTime call. It was just a call on Facebook, because Annie was so out of it. She just hit the button, and the nurse called me. He had knocked her out. And she had 2 black eyes, and she had a couple of stitches over her eye. But Annie wouldn't say how it happened.
Yeah.
For some reason, Annie always seemed to cover for him, but the paramedics knew what was going on. Right before Annie died, this is... This is really graphic, and I'm sorry you guys are all going to have to hear this. Okay. The last time the paramedics came out to Annie's house, he had said that he didn't sign up for this, for Annie being sick. Annie was using a walker because she couldn't walk. She was wearing diapers. He had beat her with her walker so bad, and her skin was yellow because her liver and her kidneys were shutting down. He had beat her with her walker, dragged her through her own shit, through the entire house, and then, because she couldn't walk, he set up a metal folding chair in her shower. But in that shower, there was no shampoo, no conditioner, and no soap. And he told her to get her fat ass clean. So, on Christmas Day, when the paramedics found her, she was dirty. Her hair was all matted. On December 28th, when Tiffany went into that house, you can imagine what that house looked like. I have pictures. I have a picture of the refrigerator with literally 10 items in that refrigerator. all the food is rotten that's in there. Annie hadn't eaten in days.
And when the cops came, when they were like called on him, did they ever go in the house and like look? Because I'm sure probably
No. And in fact, when the paramedics came the last time, when her head was split open like a watermelon because he had drop kicked her, the paramedics were begging for him to be arrested. Well, nope, because he had knocked her out when he drop kicked her. He was talking over Annie. He was being loud. He was being belligerent, apparently. No, there was nothing they could do because Annie was just, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Annie was deathly afraid of him. She was, at that point, she was deathly afraid of him because I had that video of him in the driveway. Because we're talking about a girl who, soaking wet at this point, weighed 130 pounds?
Yeah.
This dude weighs 250, 260 pounds?
Yeah. He seems like a big dude. Like, I've seen that video, and he's a big dude.
And I have that video of him. Lawyer up, bitch. Lawyer up, bitch. Fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take everything from you. Nobody can touch me. And at this point, you know, we've been around and around and around and around, and he just comes back. He just comes back. Every time he gets arrested, or he goes to the drunk tank, or he goes to his friend's house, he just comes right back. She's stuck because domestic violence laws in Arizona literally suck. I mean, literally, Megan. When she went to hospice, my husband went to her house and said, he needs to go. The cop said, he's not violating the no contact order. My husband said, are you kidding? Well, she's not here. My husband said, she's dying. And the cop said, well, there's nothing we can do. She's not here. Wow. And they said, well, you need to go to the courts. You need to get an eviction order and get him out. It took us 30 days to get him out of her house. And in that 30 days, he cleaned it out.
Of course he did.
That's how this works. I had to hire an attorney to get him out of her house.
Yeah.
How sick is that?
Yeah.
Oh, and then this is the kicker. So he, on his Facebook page, he posted a hand-drawn Grim Reaper with a hand on his back one day. And then somehow, I don't know how, and apparently it doesn't matter, through the grapevine, somehow, he found out that he thought I was going to scatter her ashes at Canyon Lake. So that motherfucker posted a picture of himself at sunset with his bike, because he's this big bad biker, at Canyon Lake. So, that's a big you to me and to her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? She's not at Canyon Lake. So the last laugh is on him. She's not at Canyon Lake. No one will ever know where she actually is, because I will not ever share that with anyone.
Yeah.
That is for me.
Mm-hmm.
But he did that
Out of spite.
out of spite. Because that's how evil he is.
Yeah. He has a criminal background, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Does he have like priors of domestic or
Yes.
priors of? Okay.
Yes, because the weirdest thing is early on in Annie and his relationship, I said to her, when he would say to her, "You're not allowed to talk to my daughter." The first couple of times I was like, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. And then I was like, hey, when he goes to sleep, why don't you talk to her? Well, one night she did. Turns out, he's an evil dude. He's been doing this a while. He did the same thing to his ex. Because, see, he was only allowed weekend visits with his kid for a reason.
Yeah.
He's nuts.
Well, with all that, I'm surprised they even let him see her at all.
Well, he doesn't see her anymore.
Yeah.
Because one night it all came to a head and he went crazy. And now his daughter wants nothing to do with him.
She's definitely better off. That's for sure.
And then Annie got the balls to talk to his ex, and turns out, same shit.
Yeah. That's the scariest part, is there is just true evil out there. And you're right, nothing will be done in Arizona.
No.
A friend of mine tried to pass or have a bill passed that was talking about harsher punishment for repeated domestic violence offenders. And who's the governor, Hobbs or whatever? She kept denying it. She said she's not going to pass anything for domestic violence. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, there's truly evil people. And they go to jail with a slap on the wrist, and then they're let out. And that's the craziest thing to me.
The sad thing is, until something drastic happens, these women, and men too, but these women end up stuck. And I see all the time online, oh, why don't you just leave? By the time these women realize they're in way too deep, it's too late.
It is.
Because these men, it's weird, these men, 9 times out of 10, are sociopaths. And the problem is, sociopaths, they have this sixth sense, and they can pick out in a crowd the woman that is their perfect target. And Annie was the perfect target. Not that she was weak, not that there was anything quote unquote wrong with her. I mean, yes, she had the perfect traits. She came from a terrible background, and she was a trauma bond. I mean, she was perfect for it. And these sociopaths learn keywords to pick up on, and then they share certain things, and then Annie's hooked. These women get hooked, and then these men start using little things against them, and that's exactly what he did to her.
Yeah, they're good at it.
And he started using little things against her. And it was perfect because I lived far away. Suzanne and Holly wanted nothing to do with her. My dad was gone. My grandparents were, at the time, very old. It was perfect storm. And then, of course, COVID kicked in. Nobody was leaving their house.
No. That's when I was reading statistics, and it was saying that during COVID, that was a rise in like spousal domestic abuse.
Perfect storm. And now, unfortunately, I just found out he was in a terrible accident, apparently. Well, guess what? Same thing is going to happen. He most likely will start drinking if he hasn't already, abusing drugs, because that was his other big vice. He was a garbage can.
Yeah.
He was a garbage can. Whatever he could get his hands on. And I'm sure, it's not an excuse, whatever, but that probably led to his fits of absolute rage.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I know for a fact that he was using, because I watched video of him rifling through Annie's purse at the hospital. And the nurse told me he took a baggie of white powder out of her purse. I mean, what could that be? Salt?
Yeah, yeah. That's sad. I don't know. It's sad that we get in these situations that we just cannot get out of. It takes at least, on average, for a woman to try 8 times to leave a domestic violence situation. And the sad thing is that when you call the police after so many times, they make a mockery of it. So they did to me. They made fun of me so many times. Oh, we don't even need GPS to come out to your house anymore. And it was like, that's what you're supposed to be here for me, to keep me safe, not laugh in my face.
That's one of the big things that needs to change. Because I think probably that's what gave him such confidence, because he said, no one can touch me.
Yeah.
I can do what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, because all they do, they just get arrested for one night and then they bond out or bail out the next day. I mean, literally, that's all that it is. And that's a scary thing, because for women, when that happens, we're like, okay, crap, I'd rather have him in my home than have him outside and just attack me from behind.
That's what Annie said.
Yeah, it's better to know where they're at all times than to be bombarded. And that is the scariest and the most isolating feeling, because people don't understand why you don't leave. You can't. You just can't leave. It's really hard to get out safely, because they stalk you, they blow up your phone, they do all this kind of stuff to still try to hold on to that kind of control over you. And that's exactly what it is. It's a whole control.
And that's the part, I think, for women that's probably the scariest. Not only that, I think the training needs to change, because when you have a domestic violence situation and the woman is here and the offender is here and a cop says, "Are you okay?" Yeah. Because knowing that if you say no and he goes to jail, but you know God well he's going to get out tomorrow and you're going to get your ass kicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You don't have a choice. You have to just stay. That's how you, like I felt. I felt like I had no choice but to stay.
And, you know, especially for someone like Annie, who was getting her ass handed to her on a regular basis, what is she going to do? And then, you know, again, I have the video of him literally in her face saying, "I've never touched you a day in my life. It's all in your head, you crazy bitch." Like, he literally said to her, "I've never touched you." Like, are you kidding?
She just stomped her own head.
Yeah. She blacked her own eyes.
Yeah.
Like,
how many times did she go to the hospital for all that?
That I know of? 4 times that I know for sure.
That's crazy.
And then the rest of the time, I just got pictures and text messages that she would just, you know, kind of like you did. She would go radio silent, and I would be like, "That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard from my sissy in several weeks.
Yeah.
Something's up." So,
yeah. That's what I mean when I said you feel isolated, because you can't reach out to people. You know, there's times where you were like, "Why can't you just leave? Why don't you just leave?" And it's like, I wish that I could explain it, but I really can't. It's fear, it's control, it's all that all combined into one, that they have so much power over you, you become weak. In every way, shape, or form, you become weak. In your heart, in your mind, everywhere. And you kind of just start to believe that you deserve it after a while, because you start to sit there and think, am I really a crappy person? Am I that bad of a person and all that? But then your mind starts going crazy and starts questioning, am I the crazy one? Am I doing this? Am I really truly doing this? But that's the gaslighting. That's the narcissistic MO. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. That's what they do. And the crazy thing is, they're so freaking good at it. I don't, in my mind and in my heart, I can't imagine being evil like that.
I can't either. Like, I can't. And I don't understand either the love bombing.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I don't understand that whole cycle, but I guess that's a big part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've spoken to a couple of other people, you know, that have been through that. You have this, Annie described it as kind of a roller coaster. You go through this huge traumatic event, and then as you're going on the downside, then you get love bombed for 2 or 3 days, and then it's right back up, and then you get love bombed, and it's just the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's like a high, like a drug.
But it only lasts for a couple of days, a week. But for a while, Annie lived for those that love bombing period. And that's incredibly sad to me that Annie's life consisted for 7 years of she lived for 2 or 3 days at a time.
Yeah. That is sad.
I can't imagine living my life like that. And Annie became an actress. She became an incredible liar. Because everyone thought that she was just happy because she became this smiling, bubbly face on Facebook, and everyone thought that she was just so happy, but she was a miserable shell of herself. Mm-hmm. And towards the end, people don't realize she was posting old pictures of herself. Annie was thin, she was gaunt, her hair was falling out.
Yeah, and that's another thing about like social media too, is you can put whatever you want out there and people are only going to see what they want to see. Mm-hmm. I've seen people reaching out on Facebook trying to cry for help, but people are so freaking mean. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you can't really go on there and like you go into some of these groups that you're a part of for like PTSD or trauma, and not all of them, but some of them, they kind of make you feel like crap, and you're kind of like, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here because I need to talk to somebody else who knows what I'm going through to where I don't feel like I'm crazy. I need not the reevaluation, but I need to like, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say.
Vent.
Yeah, you need to just...
The anonymity of getting your feelings out, but mm-hmm. people have become absolute trolls.
Yep. Yep. Even in like the dating groups, where they post, oh, are you talking to this man? Are you dating this man? Some of the people in there are just mean. And then the worst part is these girls will post somebody who is not a good guy, who gave them weird red flags, weird vibes, whatever. And they go on there and post to be like, hey, forewarning, ladies. Then you get one of the little weenie runners who is in the group, takes that post, runs to the guy that it's about. And they don't realize that they're putting these women's lives in jeopardy. That's what that group is for, is to warn other people, stay the frick away from this man.
Yeah.
And now you're jeopardizing somebody else's life. Because of what? Because of a guy that you don't even know on freaking social media? Like, that's super lame. Like, that's not... I'm a girl's girl, right? I would never, ever do that. Even if I knew the guy, and he was my good friend, I would still never do that.
Yeah. When this whole thing was happening with Annie, I guess Tiffany she's the coolest chick ever. Somehow she found out who this girl was, and her sister and the other girls, because it was like 5 girls that were in the house. Somehow she found out who all of them were. She warned every single one of them. And she warned the girl that Israel was seeing, whatever. This girl, she didn't care. And the sister hit Tiffany back and was like, don't bother. And then they told him, do you know what they're saying about you? Like, really?
Yeah. So let's kind of wrap this up because it's coming up on time. Is there anything else that you want the world to know about Anni Hevle, your sister?
I'm glad that, I finally got the truth out there. Yes, she did die of kidney and liver failure, but a lot of it was exacerbated by her conditions that she lived in.
Mm-hmm.
But Annie was an amazing human being. Yes, she had her flaws.
As we all do.
But she shouldn't have died that way.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have died that way. And I'm going to miss her.
I wish I could have gotten a chance to meet her.
She was funny.
I can see that.
She was funny. Oh, Annie was funny. And anyone that ever came into contact with her, she was funny.
Now, what do you think, if Annie was here today, what do you think that she would say to women that have been in that position?
Get out. Get out. Get out while you can. Because the old Annie would have never stayed. Annie realized she was in over her head, but it got to the point that it was too late and she couldn't. Because like I said, she wrote that long email to Dara and sent Dara all the proof, but it got to the point that it was too late. She was in too deep.
Mm-hmm.
She got to the point she didn't know how to get out, and she didn't know how to get out alive. She was going to buy another house and just let him have that house. She didn't know how to get out alive.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard to get out. And that's why back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 149 women a day were being killed from domestic partner and or someone in the home. And if you do the math, all around, that's like what, 51,000 it was? Women who have died from this.
It's too many.
Crazy.
One is too many.
Yeah.
But something has to change. And if it doesn't change, it's sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad.
Well, that's why I wanted to do this. To get this awareness out there. To have people hear the stories of, and I don't like saying victim. I don't know why I just never really like that word. It just kind of hits me wrong. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. But I know for people who've passed away, I don't know. It's hard. It's sad.
If one person hears this and is in, the beginning of a relationship, if one person hears this and decides, you know what? Yeah, this isn't right. I gotta leave. Then, I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because Annie's story is tragic. Everyone failed her. Everyone. Nobody listened.
Yeah.
The cops didn't listen. The courts didn't listen. Nobody listened. And I realized, with COVID, it was a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
But still, nobody listened. And she didn't have to die.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have that significant other that, is not really, if you get love bombed and you get, put down or shoved or, whatever, get out.
Mm-hmm.
Get out.
Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in if it doesn't bring you peace, joy, and laughter to your relationship or to your life, run. Because somebody that's not going to laugh with you and enjoy you, obviously a dud anyway. But people just, I don't know. And the thing is that I've noticed that, and it's not just men, it's women too, that we will push and push and push and push to the other person just kind of like gets mad and pissed off, whatever. And then it's flipped back on them. Oh, well, you're the crazy one. You're this, you're that. And it's like, you're the one that pushed me. Like, but even little things like that, the picking, oh, I'm just kidding, babe. I didn't mean that. That kind of stuff. Those are all red flags. And those aren't things that we normally see. You just think, oh, it's funny, he's talking crap. No, there's a difference between like joking with each other versus like crossing the line of being disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I feel like that is my number one red flag that I look for. If you are pushy, if you are needy, if you are insecure about how you feel, if I have to explain to you everything, where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm with, red flag. Red flag. All of it.
And his biggest red flag, I remember this now, his biggest red flag, they would go, I can't remember the name of the bar, unimportant, but they would go to a bar to have a couple of drinks. She was literally not allowed to speak. And if she did, he would say, "Shut up. Did I say you could speak?"
Oh my gosh.
"Did I say you could talk to my friends?"
And he just didn't care, blatantly, right in front of everybody.
Yep. I don't know if that's the biker mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of them. The other one is, it's not joking, it's not funny. Calling her a lazy pig. Listen. You got her fired. Because she couldn't show up to work anymore with bruises. You got her fired. She doesn't have a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You get up off your ass. You go back to work. Ain't no reason you need to sit around.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a mortgage. She has the money to pay the bills. So, which one of you is the fat pig?
Yeah.
Oh, he's just joking. No.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are not joking around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no reason for one person to call another person a fat pig. Like,
no.
And she's not fat.
No.
You're not fat at 120 pounds. Like, you're not.
No. And even call somebody that, in general, is just mean. Like, I would never. I don't. People are just mean. And I don't understand this world.
So, you can joke with someone and say, well, your hair's greasy, go take a shower, or you gonna shower today, or, stuff like that. So,
yeah.
Words hurt.
Yes, they definitely do. But I do want to thank you for coming out here.
You're very welcome.
Doing this with me, and
it was time for her story to be told, because I understand that, there are people that think that she just simply died of, kidney and liver failure, and there was way, way, way more to that story. Like, people don't, I don't know if you knew this, but nobody from her Facebook page, well, the majority of the people, don't know what happened to her, because I didn't share it.
Yeah.
So now everyone's gonna know.
Well, I am glad that we can get her story out there, get her voice heard through her sister. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate you standing with me through all of this, and I know it's hard.
It is.
I know it's really hard.
But it's been a couple of years, so. And I don't want her death to be in vain.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it can help just one person, then I'm happy.